Well, we've been joined today by Phil White, who's the co-founder of Cervélo bikes, which is what the Garmin Sharp team uses. He's of course an expert in frame design, but he also knows a hell of a lot about aerodynamics, both in terms of the equipment and also rider position. So Phil, thanks for joining us today. First of all, I'd like to start with the equipment on the bike and the aerodynamics in general. What can a rider who's just got into cycling, or maybe he's been into it a few years, wants to get some extra free speed and be more aerodynamic, what can they do to improve their position and get faster for the same amount of power?
The big thing with improving your performance is obviously the rider position. That's 3/4 of it. So it's always about your body. So if you have a bike that actually allows you to get in the right position, that's the first thing. So, it's a matter, if you're doing a time trial, then it's all a matter of kind of keeping your body angles the same that you've been training in for years, but getting in that more aerodynamic position. So if you can look at my kind of model here, this is your hip angle, this is your bottom bracket. The objective if you're doing time trials is just to pivot ahead. Keep your hip angle the same because you've always trained in that position, your body's used to that. And just pivot around that and get your back flat. So get a bike that allows you to do that. If you're going to be riding in really windy positions, then you don't want a super deep aero wheel because you'll never be able to stay in the aero bars in a good position. Even if you're just riding with your friends on a winding road, if you can't be comfortable, that's not going to make you fast either. So you want to pick a wheel that's a good depth for you. We found in general that a 40mm deep wheel of a nice aero section actually provides just as much stability as you're used to on like a 30mm, 25mm deep rim. Because it's got a nice shape, you actually feel the buffeting even less. So actually a 40mm deep rim is a kind of a no-brainer. Anyone can ride that. There's nothing really difficult about that at all. So if you'll try that, that's an easy way. You'll have no problems acclimatizing to that. At the rear, you can usually run something deeper just because you don't feel it as much. You'll see that they almost never run a disc on the front. The discs are pretty common on the rear. You'll feel it much less. You can run a deeper wheel on the back.
So for riders that have got not an unlimited budget and they want to improve their equipment and get faster, is there an order of importance in terms of frame, wheels and other equipment they can upgrade to get that extra free speed from aerodynamics?
Well, it kind of depends what you're starting with, but certainly the wheels and the frame are the places to start. The frame because it puts you in the most aero position, and there's big advantages. There's 30-watt gains by going from a traditional round tube bike to like an S5. So that's massive. Like 30 watts it's hard to get that pretty much anywhere else. And then the wheels, of course, are the next big thing on that as well. And the wheels have to be tailored to not just to your bike, but also to your riding style and what you're using it for.
We've also seen the development of riders' clothing and helmets over the last few years, with Castelli making that first aero jersey and a lot of riders now using skin suits on the road races and also aerodynamic helmets. How much of a difference does that make? Because there's a lot of controversy with the public saying that those helmets look almost like the old school BMX ones. Do they really make a big difference?
It makes a sizable difference. It depends on the company, and different companies, I think on the helmet side, some of the claims are pretty valid actually. But this is the thing with cycling, it's this mix of what do you want to look like. I mean, if you're happy with that BMX style, knock yourselves out. A lot of riders aren't. But yeah, I think there is power there. There's an advantage.
Well, thanks Phil for joining us, and if you want to see any of the equipment that the riders have been using that he's been talking about, you can see it in our videos right here.
It's really stiff in this direction, but it's actually pretty flexible when you're twisting it. This one, on the other hand, is actually really flexible when you're bending.